All right, welcome. This is the April meeting of the quarterly Friends of the Fall Line group. It's a casual group that is sort of partly technical and planning updates and partly community based. So it's not really in the weeds on contract negotiation, but it's a quarterly update on sort of the things that happen on the government side of planning, designing, building the Fall Line Trail from Ashland to Petersburg through the heart of Richmond and 7 localities in the Richmond region. But it's also an opportunity for us to brainstorm, share updates about trail development generally, kind of answer questions, and also ask big questions about what we should expect and what we should be working on over the next 5 to 8 years as we hope the Fall Line is completed in that time. If you're new here, I'm Brantley Tyndall, the director of Bike Walk RVA, and we're a program of the Sports Backers, have been leading the Fall Line effort from the advocacy side since about 2018. And that's founded on some of our earlier planning work that we've advocated for, including the Bike Master Plan in the city of Richmond, the Bikeways and Trails Plan in Chesterfield, and beyond. A lot of friendly faces on this call, and good to see you all this morning. I'm going to transition over to a quick or my presentation slide, and we can jump right in. If you're just rolling in, please share your introduction in the chat, and there'll be time for questions and answers towards the end. All right, our agenda is pretty similar to normal. We'll do some quick sort of ground setting, and then we'll go into some updates on funding and project updates, then updates related to trips that we've either completed or will be traveling to do research to make sure that we're sort of having a comprehensive and holistic, innovative, and high energy approach to how we build out the Fall Line. We have some updates from our regional partners, and then we have some new guests that I'm happy to introduce later. We have hired consultants for our Fall Line Vision Plan, and they're here to talk about their next steps, and then we can do some updates. I can probably move fairly quickly through some of these because not a lot has changed as it relates to funding. The state budget is not finalized, so as it relates to the state trails budget, which the Fall Line could only be a part of, we were a little concerned last year that the Fall Line was not specifically named in the Commonwealth Transportation Board as they started to use some of their at the time new state trails funding to fund other projects around the state. They did not identify the Fall Line as a priority trail, something that we as advocates have certainly drawn some attention to, and we want to make sure that the Fall Line has at least equal footing when competing for the statewide budget. No change officially has been made to that budget, and the bulk of the money still remains. It's the bulk of $103 million is the simple way to describe it. And in the unfinalized state budget, the House version mentions the Fall Line as an applicable project, so that is progress. Sort of the downside is the House approach to budgeting this year has been to earmark the bulk of those funds before the state trails plan is completed, and even before really the state trails newly hired staff can even get to work on that planning effort. It would only leave about $30 million remaining out of that $103 million pot that the Fall Line would be able to access. So it's not all the money that would be spent, but certainly it's a bulk of it, and it's a little bit threatening from a funding standpoint from that particular funding stream. However, the Senate model doesn't do any of that. It doesn't change the state trails budget that we got last year. It doesn't mention any trail specific trail projects. And the good news is, I think the Senate will do a good job in its budget negotiation of sort of scaling back what the House has proposed. And no change in this kind of case is actually really good for the Fall Line. Other than that, there hasn't been any significant funding, and we have the bulk of the funding already secured, which will allow for quick movement. The other thing, in their January meeting at the Commonwealth Transportation Board, the VDOT staff recommended one fall line related project, which is a much bigger project. You can see it's a $26 million smart scale request that includes fall line amenities across the Manchester Bridge. But it looks like the bulk of that money would go towards GRTC and bus improvements, up to and including, I would think, the forthcoming north-south BRT, even though we know that that's not, the alignment of that is not finalized, and we don't actually know if BRT will be implemented across that bridge. Some project updates. Last time we were able to talk substantially about the design build processes. There are 2 phases that are in process now. The northern section from the Ashland Hanover County line to the Chickahominy, which is the Hanover Henrico line, a little over 4 miles, is in progress, and I think vendors are to be selected pretty soon. The southern section, which would be from the southern terminus in Petersburg north to Chester, sort of in the heart of Chesterfield County, that will be advertised later in the year and could see some construction as early as next year if things roll smoothly. And I know I was expecting to see someone from VDOT on the call today. Of course, now I'm in Zoom and I'm not, or in presenter mode, I'm not sure if we have them online. If there's any other specific update you'd like to share, I'm going through this now. Yeah, so the other kind of circular thing we're dealing with, I think I've got another slide on it. I'm going to skip out of order here. The Virginia State University alignment has now needed to be shifted again. This map shows where they did core drillings on the north bank of the Appomattox River, and they found a huge number of Native American artifact sites. Each one of these circles is a dot that they drilled that found Native, or I guess the blue found sites or found remains, and they're exploring an alternative, now a second alternative alignment in that short section, basically from the Appomattox River up the hill to the Colonial Heights section. I know that VDOT is working hard with Virginia State University to find an alignment that works, and I'm told that the progress is being made. So I'm confident we'll find a good solution. It's just we don't know exactly what that is yet.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Going back a little bit, the CVTA established a spending plan in part to be able to understand how the CVTA money and then how the local contributions and state contributions to the fall line can be spent to make sure that projects can start to be underway. And as it relates to the State Office of Trails, 2 new staffers have been hired, a planner and someone in local assistance. That's someone who can help get new money from the federal government. And John Balachek's position as the state bike ped planner has now been refilled by David Cook. So we have a lot of new people to work with at the state level. Really looking forward to hitting the ground with them. Can jump into some community engagement updates. We were really excited to join the Richmond Forum just as a participant, which had a transportation focus. It was a packed house at Main Street Station, and the fall line was repeatedly mentioned as a signature project that Plan RVA is working on. And in attendance, many of you were there. We had really great regional attendance at that important sort of oversight of what's happening in the transportation world, what's coming, the importance of safety, the importance of placemaking and active transportation. And it was a kind of an inspiring morning and a really great venue. Sportsbacker staff took a trip to Durham. We wanted to visit our East Coast Greenway friends. That's where their headquarters is. And we rode a number of trails in the area, the Ellerby Trail, the American Tobacco Trail, and we rode through some really excellent downtown placemaking in Durham. I think we were all surprised at just how developed the biking and walking participant experience was in the area. Everything from this, what our tour guide called Bessie, this now anatomically incorrect dinosaur. It's a legacy item from the Natural History Museum there. They couldn't keep it in the museum because it's no longer accurate. So they decided to make it a bit of a feature on the trail side. I can't wait to get some dinosaurs or something like that on the fall line. I also want to show a bit of a special attention to this colorful crosswalk. I think that this is something we've seen on trail projects like this around the country, and I look forward to seeing what what we can do to really draw signature attention to the fall line in our area. Some interesting interactive placemaking elements. This from murals to this interactive art installation where you can go play with your these colorful blocks and put them in a bit of like a light bright kind of scenario. We had to send a fun message to our friends in Durham, left that there for them. The upper picture is a connector trail to a park or a park that includes green space and fields, and the inclusion of active living and competitive sports was in sharp focus in this particular spot, and something that we really think is a lot of potential for the fall line. And again, back down to the American Tobacco Trail, this is a retail commercial corridor with restaurants and shops and beautiful placemaking, and again, our colorful crosswalk that helps you know where you are and that you're in kind of a special place. We had lunch with Chuck Flink, who is, I've come to learn, is almost the grandfather of trail planning, and especially multi-use trail planning in the country. He wrote the book Greenways Imperative that we gave to a number of folks who came on our DC trip in October, and gave us lots of insight about how we should approach our vision plan and all the different multifaceted elements that you might include in a real bona fide place, including some interesting wayfinding. And if you're familiar with Durham, you know that one of their biggest claims to fame is the Durham Bulls. So they had lots of fun Durham and bull-oriented branding around the area. We just got back from DC at the National Bike Summit. We were able to talk about the fall line with our senators and Congress folks. I don't know if you can call them Congress folks, congressional representatives. And I also, there was a lot of excitement about that, especially as groundbreakings and construction are forthcoming, because they'd love to come and be a part of that. I think that we're going to see a lot more congressional and Senate engagement as there are events to be planned. So keep that in mind, and we'll certainly help connect the dots to those offices and get on their schedules with Senators Warner and Kane and newly elected Congresswoman McEachin and Congressman Whitman, the 4 districts that the fall line goes through. The bottom picture is not directly fall line related, but this is on 15th Street, right in the northwest part of DC, where a lot of the tourist attractions and monuments are. The Cherry Blossom Festival, the Washington Monument is directly to the left here. DC recently installed these prefab concrete separators to really enforce this cycle track, or you might think of it as a side path. And in areas where we may have the fall line aligned very close to the road, which should be few and far between, we should really anticipate using these kinds of high intensity delineators so that it's very clear where people are supposed to be. You can imagine this part of DC sees millions of visitors who are not familiar with American bike ped design, and it works. You don't have to have read a book to know how you can bike and walk in this particular area. And I think as I'm wrapping up our community engagement sort of topic, this is we just had the 4th of our 5 sessions of the Bike Walk RVA Academy last night. We've got a cohort of 22 people from around the region who signed up to be trained to be more effective bike and pedestrian advocates. This is our 10th year of doing this program, and when this cohort graduates, we'll have 200 people who have graduated into what we call our champions cohort. And when we need good community engagement or supporting of a project, these people show up and give their authentic testimony and story, and they really bring a lot of weight to how the biking and walking developments are made in the region. And we look forward to getting them really plugged into this process as we move forward. And we had a panel last night with 4 elected officials. We had from around the region. From the city, we had Council President Mike Jones from the 9th District and Andreas Addison from the 1st. From Hanover County, we had Angela Kelly Wiesek from the Chickahominy District in Hanover and Dan Schmidt from the Brooklyn District in Henrico to give their regional perspective and also to sort of explain, to give guidance to budding advocates on how to be more effective when working with them. I think everyone left last night really inspired to start working with them more directly. And now I'm going to stop sharing my screen just because I've been talking for a long time and hand the microphone to my friend Phil Riggin, who has been doing some fact-finding and storytelling history research around the trolley line, which is about the northern third alignment of the fall line is contiguous with a electric trolley, historic electric trolley. And I'm curious to see what you found, Phil.
Thank you, Brantley. I am posting in the chat right now a link to our next event, so you guys can check out the information that we have on there. We're sort of throwing a lot of this together right now. So this week we're just kind of launching the April 29th event and starting to spread the word. So appreciate any help with that. But basically we're going to be doing a walk and talk on the 29th, and just as Brantley was saying, we had an event in February on February 23rd at Virginia Union, and am I still?
We see you. I spotlighted you.
Okay. Oh, okay, I got you. We had an event at Virginia Union on the 23rd, and we've been working with the National Park Service since before Fall Line existed. But the idea is this segment 14.8 miles between basically the VCU depot at Laurel and Broad, and then all the way up to the Ashland, the former terminus is at England and Maple Streets in the town of Ashland. So trying to basically follow majority of the planned fall line route with a little short segment along Brook Road where it will deviate from fall line. But this is an effort to tell the history of that corridor, and we've been working, like I said, with the National Park Service. For our event on the 29th, we're going to have Bill Martin from the Valentine again join us. Virginia Union, that part of it, we're trying to record the history, people who want to share history from their own perspective in that corridor, and we're hoping to be able to have a lot of these recorded stories to host online, and then as a complement to this to the corridor and interpretation of the history. We've been working with each of the localities along the way. The Parks and Rec folks in Henrico County, in Hanover, they have research teams that have been digging up good information in their corridors. We already got good information from Henrico and in the city of Richmond as well. Kim Chin with she's a historian with their planning department. So it's all been working really well in gathering really cool information of how that trolley line helped develop the north side, Henrico on up to Ashland before cars, or really before cars took over. But the event on the 29th, like I said, I put that link in there. Please check that out. Help spread the word if you can. We're going to do a walk and talk that morning, and probably about an hour or so starting at Virginia Union, and then that afternoon we're going to be at Train Day in Ashland, sort of wrapping up our day. But hopefully we'll get some there's supposed to be 5,000-10,000 people up in Ashland. That's a crazy event, so we'll see how many people we can talk to. Brantley, I was going to say, does anybody have any questions?
Now be a great time.
If there are no other questions, you know how to get in touch with me. I was going to say I did have another update, but I think that'll be for later in the in the show here.
Well, wonderful. And I think, I look forward to this being among many historical elements that we can share in both in the vision plan, but also in sort of the greater understanding of what the fall line can be and is. And one of the, I think, important things that's come out is how many schools this connects, the fall line would connect, but also in particular, Virginia State and Virginia Union going through really important civil rights and slave history throughout our region, something that I think is it can be a really great platform for telling historical stories and sharing information. So I hope that through the vision plan and through additional engagement work, including events, we can sort of use the fall line as a platform for sharing information. So thanks. Now would be a good time if we have anyone from our locality partners who'd like to share. I sourced information from folks from around the region, but I've had the microphone for a long time. So I see a couple of folks from Henrico, Chesterfield. If you'd like to share any kind of progress or anything coming up in your locality. Can I call on someone? We've got Henrico, someone from Henrico want to step in?
Hey, Brantley, this is Kristen here with Henrico. We actually have a public information meeting upcoming on May 16th at the Lewis Ginter Botanical Garden from 5 to 6:30. And that will cover the Henrico administered southern section of the trail. That includes 5 phases of the trail, which is about maybe a little more or around half of our section.
Awesome. And I see that we've got 3 phases in Henrico that are in right-of-way phase from Lakeside, Villa Park, and Spring Park. Is that
Yep,
correct?
that is correct. Yep, that is correct. We're hoping to have the first section of trail ready for construction in the fall, which is the one at Park Street, which will intersects the right across the street from Bryan Park. So very exciting news there.
That is exciting. I just want to say that again. We're expecting some groundbreaking later this year. So mark your calendar. Thanks, Kristen.
Absolutely.
Do we have someone from the city of Richmond, from Chesterfield? I do have some updates that I can share for our local partners. It looks like, in particular, the city is looking at 30% designs on the Commerce Road section, and then improvements to Bryan Park. So Bryan Park, if you're not intimately familiar with the alignment, is where the trail will transfer between Henrico and the city. So it'll be a great gateway in both directions, I think. And obviously, park settings have some efficiency as it relates to actual implementation. And on the southern end, Broad Rock Creek Park is a newer park project in the city that will present some options for maybe subtle shifts in the alignment to have more of a park-like setting for a part of the trail. I don't want to clarify from this standpoint, Sports Backers is not advocating for changing the alignment of the fall line, but if it makes sense as we get into the weeds and that's led by a locality partner, then certainly we can be supportive if it has a good product. And I think that our parks partners have identified a good opportunity there. In Chesterfield, they're especially looking at the Falling Creek area and along Route 1 for their next phases. And I think we just heard the first announcement of groundbreaking later this year in Henrico, but I think that with the design build phases coming and then our localities looking so closely at these individual pockets, it's going to go from 1 to 5 to 10 pretty quickly, and we're going to have lots of construction projects happening concurrently. So just be prepared for that energy, and we definitely want to be good partners along that route. All right, well, I'm going to go back I'm super excited for the next phase of our discussion, which is to introduce, let's see if this is working correctly. This is the screen that I shared last meeting back in January about what the Fall Line Vision Plan is. want to be super clear that we're at Sportsbacker as a nonprofit and very happy to be a good partner with our 7 localities and our regional authority and the state. And what value we wanted to hone in on what value we could provide, knowing that we don't build bike lanes and trails, we just advocate for them. And we recognize that the Fall Line has so much momentum right now with $220 million raised and a bunch of construction about to start happening. We want to make sure that the Fall Line is really a catalyst for a lot of the projects that are happening in the area already, and that when the Fall Line is built in 5 to 8, hopefully not 10 years or more from now, that it brings along a bunch of change and quality with it, and everything from active living sites like skate parks or connections to schools and competitive fields, to public art, to green space and landscaping, and lots of other things. So I don't want to be, I'm not leaving anything off the list intentionally here, but more to say, we want to have a very systematic approach to figuring out how we can be inclusive to a broader image of placemaking and community connections and economic development, and even like sort of thinking about what the future of our region looks like through the lens of this project. And so we're super happy to announce that we hired Tool Design in our RFP process earlier this year, and they're here today to talk a little bit about what their process is going to be like. I will sort of just highlight that they subcontracted with Ebony Walden Consulting and Virginia Community Voice to really lean in heavily into the community engagement aspect of what we want to do. And we did a pretty thorough walkthrough and drive-through of the alignment last month on a honestly a cold, kind of drizzly day, but we ended up, spent a full day looking at the entire 43 miles that we could access and sort of talking about, all the energy in the region and the different partners that we expect to engage and what kind of vision we might be moving towards. So I'm going to go back to not sharing so that we can see everyone's faces. But I'd love to introduce Alex from Tool Design, who's based in Minneapolis, and a regular in our cast of characters, Andy Clark, also with Tool.
Cool. Great. Thanks, Brantley. Yeah, so as Brantley pointed out, Alex Kamoutsas with Tool Design Group. I'm senior landscape architect here and project manager for the consultant team. And then you all know Andy, but Andy, I'll give you a chance if you want to say a little bit before I jump back in.
Sure. Just to say that I'm the local face of the project. I'm here in Henrico, and just really honored to be part of the team and work on something this close to home.
Yeah. So, and while Andy's local and you guys are talking about, motorcycles and cutting lawns, we're looking at sleet and snow still up here in Minneapolis. So, actually that cold day in March, Brantley, was pretty refreshing from my standpoint. So yeah, we've been involved for about a month or so now. We started with a great tour through all 43 miles last month, about a month to the day, I think. Learned a heck of a lot about what's been going on and all the work and energy that you've all put into this. And it's a completely very inspiring project, and we're looking forward to carry all that energy through the Envision plan and the engagement effort. And our first big task is really planning for a charrette the first week in May 8th through 12th. So, we'll be seeing you all, many of you there throughout those 5 days. Our plan of attack for that is to really go, break out the trail into 3 different zones: south, central, and north. We have a very long list of stakeholders that we're kind of divvying up into the three zones right now. And really it's going to be a tour of the trail and making sure that we get input from all the stakeholders along all 43 miles, as well as community members. So, your input is going to be, paramount into really figuring out what goes into the vision plan. We've started to identify some of the buckets of focus areas that we'll be looking at in the charrette. Brantley, I'll need to add dinosaur sculptures onto the list. So thanks for that. But we'll be looking at other art placemaking opportunities, environmental impacts, how the trail can support the economy and local tourism and vice versa, right? How all these things can help energize the trail and get people excited about the trail itself. So you'll be hearing more and seeing more from Brantley and us in the next few weeks to get geared up and ready to go for that charrette. Yeah, we're looking forward to being back in town.
And if you're on this call, we expect you to participate. So definitely May 8th to May 12th, you either represent a locality or a nonprofit group, or you live along the corridor, or you work for a sort of an ancillary program that we want to make sure is highlighted. And if there's someone who's not on this call, certainly we would love for them to be invited. I've got a couple of slides to talk a little bit more about this, but we definitely it's going to be a 5-day charrette period, morning, dawn to dusk sort of scenario. Some of them will be in local offices or otherwise easy to reach community conference room types settings. And then we'll also have meetings in public settings in the evening to reach community members who aren't going to be able to do this during the day. We want to have a focus north of the river or north of the James, somewhere centrally located around Richmond, and then somewhere south of the James. That's a good balance of being accessible in otherwise kind of a big area. So we're going to do our best with that. And we'll also make sure that there are online tools that you don't have to come in person. And we want to get a broad reach with those as well. So really look forward to launching that engagement phase, both from a community engagement standpoint, but stakeholder and locality engagement as well. And really look forward to seeing what comes out of that process. All right, I think we're wrapping up. I think I have a few more slides though. Yep, I want to just put this on our recording here that we do have charrettes in May, and we want to we'll be doing some reviewing later in the summer, and then the final plan should be done in October. Our next, and I have the date later on, but our next Friends of the Fall Line meeting likely will have some sort of a workshop, whether it's a visioning activity or a discussion about what's already come out of the community engagement process. We want to use our time wisely, but want to make sure that we are being very engaging in this process. So I'm going to go through some announcements. Some of the dates have already been mentioned, and but if you have any other dates that aren't listed here or haven't been discussed, please pipe in. So the next CVTA Fall Line Working Group, that's the group, the Central Virginia Transportation Authority. If you really want the technical stuff, whether it's contract negotiation or standard project agreements or funding scenarios, that's definitely the group, and that's chaired by Dirona Clark from the City of Richmond. Our Fall Line Vision Plan charrette window is I guess it's maybe the second full week in May, from 8th to 12th. The week after that, we'll have a Henrico open house, as Kristen mentioned, at Lewis Ginter, and those have often been really well attended, 150 people, 200 people, and definitely expect you to bring the party. And then RVA Bike Month is launching. It's typically May is a celebration of RVA Bike Month, or of National Bike Month, but it's grown so big over the years that it bleeds over into April and June. And so I think our first event on Bike Month is April 23rd. Our website should be up in the next week or so. And there will be lots and lots of Fall Line oriented stuff, including in the first week a urbanism happy hour that many of our Friends of the Fall Line will participate on. So if you want more information right from the source, we really look forward to having that. And we definitely intend to really just like ramp up the engagement, maybe too much. Our goal is to have too much engagement over the next couple of months. And then from a Sportsbacker side of things, we do an annual fundraiser called the Fall Line Trailblazer. You can get your new shirt. Every year we do a new Fall Line Trailblazer shirt, and they're at different donation levels, different kinds of swag. But it is also free to participate, and we lead a series of walks along the publicly accessible sections of the Fall Line to explain what it is, to kind of get people immersed in the experience. And hopefully the weather will be a little bit better than it was last month. We've had a lot of success with that. We've had county managers come out to walk with us, elected officials. Even in July of a couple of years ago, we had Senator Tim Kaine walk for several miles, and then we ended up just having to bump into Mayor LeVar Stoney and Bryant Park. So you never know what'll happen, and that kind of energy is not replaceable. So I hope that you can join us and share the word. Does anyone else have any announcements you'd like to share?
Yes, Brantley, while you've got the CBTA Fall Line Working Group up, I just wanted to update everyone that the CBTA does have a request for proposals out for a wayfinding wayfinding plan. They received seven different proposals, and they were to meet this morning, but I think with the same issue you were mentioning, all these people on vacation or not enough time, I guess, to review all the proposals, that decision has been delayed. And they're going to have a couple meetings, I guess, ahead of that April 19th event, or I should say meeting. So anyway, just I know some people on this call are participants in that proposal as well. So anyway, but yeah, that's pending.
Excellent. So it sounds like good news. You got applicants this time. Is that right?
Yes.
Wonderful.
Yes, seven
very good.
different.
Well, I look forward to that, and I really look forward to I made it a sort of a subtle component of the presentation today, but wayfinding is more than just signs. It's really like a branded experience, and to understand that you're in a specified trail area or not, or if you're on the major fall line, or if you're on a connector trail. And lots of lessons have been learned with other trail projects around the country about, you don't want people to get lost, and you want people to know that what direction they're going. And there are opportunities to celebrate the 7 localities that this trail graces. And can we be creative in a way that tells the story of our region and also helps people understand that there's a value to this place? It's not just pavement through the woods in some cases, but it's a real community-owned asset. So I look forward to engaging with that process when the time comes. Some updates from the sports backer side of things. We are planning a trip to Indianapolis later this month. We have folks from Richmond and Henrico joining us, and we're really looking forward to having some of the leaders from the Indianapolis Cultural Trail, which is a highly urban, high production value, multi-use trail right through the heart of downtown that dovetails with their Monon Trail. You might think of that as more of a recreational, semi-rural trail. And I think it's a rail trail too, so it's arrow straight, a little bit like the Virginia Capitol Trail. And so part of what we can anticipate over the next couple of years is really understanding, making the investments in downtown so that the trail is high quality and separated and a really great space. And then also is a connection to the larger trail network, like the Virginia Capitol Trail, like the Appomattox River Trail, and beyond. And I've mentioned this sort of informally a couple of times, but I think the future, 10 years from now, when the fall line is completed and the Appomattox River Trail is completed, we're going to have this giant, what I've been calling Dorito, but it's going to be a triangular trail loop that really doesn't exist in anywhere else, that you can not have to do out and backs on trails, but to do these big loops that I think will really separate our region from a tourism standpoint, and also from people who live here to just go out on a big protected loop. I think that's a big part of a vision that we'd like to identify. We're also really looking forward to the potential of going to Amsterdam in July. We connected with the Dutch Cycling Embassy at the Bike Summit last week, and they are essentially an operation that helps connect people to tour guides and to planning and transportation professionals in Holland to see the best of the best, to even tailor what is offered in Holland to what our specific needs are. So we've already started that process. I'm selfishly trying to pair the trip with the Tour de France, so hopefully that'll work out. But if it doesn't work, that doesn't work. We'll go another time. Outside of sports backers, there are ongoing planning efforts that I think are really important that are sort of on the periphery of what the fall line is about. Henrico Next is the comprehensive plan in Henrico, and they have a draft bike master plan that you can view now on their website. I think they are still accepting comments about it. And it's really exciting to see the level of mapping that they've done for what could be planned for bikeways in that county. Richmond Connects, the multimodal plan in the city of Richmond, is ongoing. I think we have an advisory committee next week. Definitely something to pay attention to, and will be, when it's completed, should be a bona fide biking and walking plan, as well as other things. And so we really look forward to that progress. And Hanover County is in its comprehensive planning phase, and I don't know what additional work they are looking to do as far as biking and walking is concerned, but it's an opportunity to make sure that the active living chapter that we advocated for in 2017 is retained, and there's a Chickahominy River Trail in there, as well as the Fall Line, and sort of understanding that Hanover has a lot of great biking and walking assets. I think this is my last slide, and I'm seeing the chat get active, so I want to make sure that people have an opportunity to share your updates and announcements as well. All right, well, happy to give you 17 minutes back if you don't have anything else. Great seeing you this morning, and really excited to see so much progress on the Fall Line, and I think we're going to have lots of engagement. We want to see your ideas, and especially thinking about how the Fall Line can be a valuable asset to more people, not just biking and walking people, but to get people home, to get people to school, to work, to open the door to a new active lifestyle that maybe they don't have yet, while also getting people here to come spend their money. All right, have a great morning, everyone.
Thanks,
Thanks, all.
Brantley.
Thanks, Brantley.
Thanks all. See you.
Thank you.